Hello everyone, welcome to my page. In this video, the rise of nationalism in Europe, part 4, we will discuss about the making of Germany and Italy. Till 1848, we have seen that nationalism in Europe was mostly associated with democracy and revolution. But after 1848, after the fall or the failure of the Frankfurt Parliament, nationalist sentiments were often mobilized by conservatives for promoting state power and achieving political domination over Europe. So there was a shift of the nationalist movement from the revolutionary groups of people and democratic principles to those of the conservative groups, the one who want to conserve the old regime. It was quite visible in case of the unification of Germany and Italy. In Germany, middle class Germans, they tried to unite themselves in 1848 through the Frankfurt Parliament that we have learned in the previous video. The different regions of Germany under one confederation into a nation state, and that too also governed by elected parliament. But you'll remember that this Frankfurt Parliament was a failure. It actually did not succeed to unite the Germans. We would remember that the Prussian king who was being given the throne of the United Germany, Frederick Wilhelm IV, refused to accept the proposal of being a monarch under the parliament and call in the armed forces army to abolish the parliament. So here by the combined forces of monarchy and military and by the support of large landowners, the Junkers in Prussia, Frederick Wilhelm IV has overthrown the Parliament of Frankfurt. That was a failed initiative of the German middle classes to unite the German territories. From then, Prussia, as the main German state, it took the leadership of the movement of the national unification. But this time not by the middle class Germans in Prussia, but was led by the monarchy, led by the bureaucracy itself. Its chief minister, Otto von Bismarck, Prussia's chief minister, Otto von Bismarck, he was considered to be the architect of the process that was carried out with the help of Prussian army and bureaucracy. Bureaucracy here, it means the administrative officials. So here we could see that the armed forces were involved in the process of unification. Here occupation of territory, territorial expansion was the main aim of unifying German territories. There was 3 wars over a period of 7 years with Austria, Denmark and France, which finally ended in the victory of Prussia. And that led to the complete process of unification of the German states. So finally in January 1871, the Prussian king William I, remember it was not Frederick Wilhelm IV now, it is William I, was proclaimed the German emperor in a ceremony held at Versailles. So this is how German unification was brought into effect. On a bitterly cold morning of January 1871, an assembly comprising of various German states, representatives of the army, important Prussian ministers, even including the chief minister Otto von Bismarck, they all gathered in the Hall of Mirrors in the palace of Versailles to proclaim the new German Empire, headed by Kaiser William I of Prussia. So William I, who became the first ruler of the German United Nation, he achieved a title called Kaiser. So he was to be known as a Kaiser William I. The new state of Germany, it placed a strong emphasis on modernizing currency, banking, legal and judicial system in Germany. Prussian measures and practices often became the model for rest of Germany. So what Prussia was doing was taken as an example for the entire German states. So that is how Germany was united. Next come the unification of Italy. Italy unified. Italy also have a long history of political fragmentation just like the German people. Italians were not ruled by Italian rulers at different places. Italians were scattered over several dynastic states as well as multinational Habsburg Empire. So in the Austrian part of the Habsburg Empire, many Italian people were being ruled. During the middle of the 19th century, Italy was divided into 7 states, of which only one, Sardinia Piedmont, was ruled by an Italian princely houses. So it was seen that during the middle of the 19th century, Italy was divided into 7 states, but only one of them was ruled by an Italian princely house. Rest were under different other rulers. The north was under Austrian Habsburgs, the center was ruled by the Pope, the southern region were under the domination of the Bourbon king and of Spain. Even the Italian language had not acquired one common form and still had many regional and local variation. So it was not only that the Italians were divided under various kings or various rulers, even their language was not same. They did not have a common form. It has regional and local variations. So there were many people who were involved in the process of Italian unification. To recall, when we have learned about the revolutionaries in one of the previous videos, we have learned about the Giuseppe Mazzini. So in 1830s, Giuseppe Mazzini, as you remember, has tried to initiate a revolutionary movement to unite the Italians by organizing secret societies like Young Italy. So to disseminate his goals, he has organized a secret society called Young Italy. Another was the Young Europe. But his all these failures of the secret society, all these activities of the secret society under Giuseppe Mazzini was not successful. So thereafter, the main responsibility or the mantle of uniting the Italian states fell on Sardinia Piedmont, the only Italian kingdom ruled by an Italian princely house. It was under the king Victor Emmanuel II. So we could now see 2 persons getting involved. Earlier it was Giuseppe Mazzini who tried to unite the Italians, but he could not. And thereafter came the king Victor Emmanuel II. In the eyes of the ruling elites of this region, a unified Italy would offer them the possibility of economic development and political dominance. So the Italian elite, ruling elite groups wanted the unification with 2 goals in mind. One, economic development, and another, the political dominance. As King Victor Emmanuel took the responsibility of uniting the Italian states, his chief minister, Count Cavour, here it is only Cavour given, so we'll learn him as Chief Minister Cavour. He also helped in this process of unification. So he led the movement to unify the regions of Italy. Interestingly, he was neither a revolutionary nor a democrat. Like many other wealthy and educated members of the Italian elite, he spoke French much better than Italian. So he was not even like fluent in the Italian language. Through a very tactful diplomatic alliance with France, Cavour was successful in defeating Austrian forces in 1859. Okay, so Sardinia Piedmont under Count Cavour defeated the Austrian forces in 1859. Austrian Habsburg Empire in the north of Italy was being occupied by these Austrian forces, and where a large numbers of Italian people used to reside. Apart from regular troops, a large number of armed volunteers also under the leadership of Giuseppe Garibaldi. Here comes another leader. Giuseppe Garibaldi was a leader who organized volunteer forces to join this war against Austrian forces. So, under him, the people of different places started to join the fray. Fray means the battle or fight. In 1860, these volunteer armed forces they marched into South Italy and the kingdom of the Two Sicilies and succeeded in winning the support of the local peasants in order to drive out Spanish rulers. So the Spanish group of people that were ruling over the Two Sicilies were also thrown out by these armed volunteers, which mostly consisted of peasants. In 1861, Victor Emmanuel II was proclaimed the King of the United Italy. So finally in 1861, Victor Emmanuel II was declared as the King of the United Italy. One most important thing that interesting fact that actually took place during the time of unification, that most of the Italian people who took part in this armed rebellion against the Austrian forces or the Spanish groups, they were mostly illiterate. So they were not aware about the liberal nationalist ideology. The peasant masses who supported Giuseppe Garibaldi in southern Italy, they never heard about the word called Italia that was used to be used as a name for the United Italy. Rather, they thought it to be La Talia. Instead of Italia, they got to know it as La Talia, who was the wife of Victor Emmanuel's wife. So the interesting fact is that the peasants here were joining the rebellion thinking that La Talia, Victor Emmanuel's wife, is in a threat, so the war is required to liberate her. But anyhow, finally Italy was united. This is the map of the territory that was created after the as an Italian state. This is present Italy, and this was the part occupied by various other kings where the Italian population were living. So during the war, these territories were occupied, and then finally this Italy was created. Okay, another unification that we will now talk about is the case of Britain. But here the case of Britain, the nation state that has been created actually is not a result of a sudden upheaval or revolution. It was a result of a long drawn out process. Okay, in the previous cases, we have learned that there were kingdoms which have their own German kings or the Italian kings who wanted to create a nation of their own people. But in this case, there was no British nation prior to the 18th century. The primary identities of the people living in this region were not British nation people or something like that, but they were mostly divided into ethnic groups such as English, Welsh, Scot, or Irish. Each of these ethnic groups had their own culture and political tradition. But in course of time, the English nation started to grow wealthier and got importance and power, and slowly started to extend its influence over the other nations of the island group. Remember, the territory now we are talking about as a Great Britain is a group of island countries. The English Parliament, which has seized power from the monarchy in 1688, at the end of a protracted conflict, was an instrument through which our nation state with England at its center came to be forced. So finally, we could see that British Parliament has tried to control the activities of the entire territory of this area that included the Welsh, the Scots, and the Irish group of people. The Act of Union 1707 between English and Scotland that resulted in the formation of the United Kingdom of Great Britain. It meant in effect that England was able to impose influence on Scotland. So finally, Act of the Union was signed between England or the English people and the Scottish people in 1707 that resulted in the formation of the United Kingdom of Great Britain. The British Parliament henceforth dominated by its English members. The growth of British identity meant that Scotland's distinctive culture and political institutions were systematically suppressed. So we could see that the English had more dominance in the parliament. So, and the British Parliament, the new name given as the Great Britain, and the parliament came to be known as the British Parliament, the English group of people have more dominance. And slowly, it was seen that Scotland's own distinctive culture and political institutions were being suppressed. The Catholic clans that inhabited the Scotland Highlands suffered terrible repression whenever they attempted to assert their independence. The Scottish Highlanders were forbidden to speak their Gaelic language or wear their national dress, and large numbers were forcibly driven out of their homeland. We could see that the Scottish Highlanders, they tried to rebel against this process of unification. But whenever they tried to assert their independence, they were being dominated. They were being repressed. They were not allowed to even use their own language that was known as the Gaelic language, and neither they were allowed to wear their national dress. Those who were trying to speak in their own language or wear their national dress, they were forcibly driven out of their homeland. So Scotland was thus brought under the control of Great Britain. Then came Ireland, the Irish people. It was a country deeply divided between the Catholics and the Protestants. The English helped the Protestants of Ireland to establish the dominance over the largely Catholic country. Here in Ireland, the Catholics were in majority, but the British supported the Protestant because the British were a Protestant, so they supported the Protestant group to establish their control over this country of Ireland, though it was mostly dominated by the Catholic groups. After a failed revolt by Wolfe Tone, we have to remember, as an Irishman who tried to rebel against this unification, and his United Irishman in 1798, Ireland was forcibly incorporated into United Kingdom in 1801. So by 1801, Ireland was brought under the unification of United Kingdom of Great Britain. A new British nation was forged. A new British nation was created by the union of Scotland and Ireland and the English group of people, where the English culture was propagated. The symbols of the New Britain was the British flag, not the Scotland's flag, not even the Ireland's flag. It was the British flag, Union Jack, the national anthem of Britain, that was God Save Our Noble King. The English language were actively promoted, and the older nations survived only as subordinate partners in this union. So the other nations, that is Scotland and Ireland here, was just a partner of the union. Everything of the British origin was being given to the English origin was being given to this union of states under the name of the Great Britain. So here we have seen how three different nation states were being created at three different conditions. In the case of Germany and Italy, we have seen that the monarchy and the bureaucracy got involved in the process of unification and got engaged in various wars, and finally has occupied territories of the German and Italian groups of people and created their own respective nations. In case of Great Britain, the most dominant group of people within these island countries, the English started to control Scotland and Ireland, forced them into treaties, and forced their English culture, English traditions, English flag, English national anthem, everything on this group of people to establish nation state. So here in this video, we will learn only about this unification of these states. So in the next coming video, we'll do it the rest part of the chapter. Till then, bye.